Hello children, today let us do second chapter of Class 8 Geography. In our previous chapter, in chapter number 1, we have learned about resources. So, the name of the topic of second chapter is land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. Boys, as you know, land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife, they are important for us. We are using them in different ways. Thus they become resources to the mankind. Now let's start the lesson. In a small village in Tanzania, Africa, Mamba gets up very early in the morning to fetch water. So Tanzania is the name of a village of Africa. There, Mamba gets up very early in the morning in order to bring water. She has to walk a long way and returns after a few hours. She needs to walk a long distance and back after a few hours, as it is a far place. That's why. She then helps her mother in the house and joins her brothers in taking care of their goats. So, what Mamba used to do, she used to help her mother in the household work and joins her brothers in taking care of their goats. Brother used to go for rearing goats, so she used to go with her brother in taking care of their goats. All her family owns is a piece of rocky land around their small hut. It shows they belongs to a poor family. So all her family owns a piece of rocky land which is made of rock there, not so very fertile there, around their small hut, the hut where they used to live. Mamba's father can barely grow some maize and beans on it after toiling hard. So Mamba's father very hardly can grow some maize and beans on it after toiling hard, means after work extremely hard. This is not enough to feed their family for the whole year. So whatever crops they are growing there, it is not quite enough to feed the entire family for whole part of the year. Peter lives in the heart of the sheep rearing region in New Zealand, where his family runs a wool processing factory. Peter lives where Peter lives in the heart of the sheep rearing region. That region is the type of region where they can rear sheep in New Zealand. And there his family they runs a wool processing factory. So with the hair of sheep they used to make wool. Every day when he returns from school, Peter watches his uncle taking care of their sheep. Every day as and when he returns from his school, Peter he watches, he can see his uncle taking care of their sheep. That means it shows here they have many sheep. Their sheep, their shipyard is situated on a wide grassy plain with hills in the far distance, and their shipyard, the place where they used to keep their sheep, is situated on a wide grassy plain with hills in the far distance. It is managed in a scientific way using the latest technology. Uh, Latest technology means latest scientific knowledge. With that, they have managed. They kept there in a scientific way. Peter's family also grows vegetables through organic farming. His family, uh, they also grows vegetables through organic farming. Mamba and Peter stay in two different parts of the world and lead very different lives. So see, Mamba and Peter, they used to stay in two different parts of the world. One is there in the Rocky Land, and another in the sheep rearing region. One is there in Tanzania of Africa, and another there in New Zealand. This difference is because of the differences in the quality of land, soil, water, natural vegetation, animals, and the uses of technology. So this difference, it is because of the quality of land is not same. Soil, water, natural vegetation, animals, and uses of technology. These are all different. One is not same with other. The availability of such resources is the main reason places differ from each other. So, children, availability of resources, it is the main reason why one place differ from other. Let us see land as a resource. Land is among the most important natural resources. We used to build our houses, construction of roads. This everything are done on the land. So land is among the most important natural resources. This is one of the most important resources for us. It covers only about 30% of the total area of the Earth's surface, and all parts of this small percentage are not habitable. So land areas, children, this is only 30%. Out of 100%, only 30% are covered by land, the total surface area of the Earth. And again, in this 30%, a small percentage, this small percentage, that is out of 100, only 30%, and then that 30%, this small percentage are not habitable. So all are not habitable there, okay? So we get only land areas only 30%, that all 30% land areas are not habitable, means where settlement is not possible, where human being cannot live. Everywhere, that means human being cannot live. Apart from this, children, towards your right margin of the book, in the box, you might observe something that is written there. You just get through it, you must read it. So there's some main point are there which you have to know it. The uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate. So why is there uneven distribution of population in different parts of the world? You have to say it is mainly due to varied characteristics of land and climate. It is because of different characteristics of land and then climate. It is not that means some of areas are there which is not appropriate for the settlement. There are topography, steep slopes of the mountains, low-lying areas susceptible to water. Susceptible means capable or admitting waterlogging. Desert areas, thick forested areas are normally sparsely populated or uninhabited. So these areas such as desert areas, steep slope of the mountain, so these areas, etc. These areas are normally very less population are there or uninhabited. Nobody is living there. That type of lands are there. Plains and river valleys offer suitable land for agriculture. River valleys and plains are suitable, appropriate for growing any crops. Agriculture can practice in those areas. Hence, these are the densely populated areas of the world. And that is why plains areas are densely populated. Why are, say, hilly areas less populated, or why are valley areas densely populated? Here you can know it very clearly. Now let us see the next paragraph. Land use. We are using land for various purposes. Let us see that. Land is used for different purposes such as agriculture, forestry, mining, building houses, roads and setting up of industries. So these are the reason how are we use this land. This is commonly termed as land use. So it is termed as, known them as land use. Can you list out the different ways in which members and Peter's family use their land? You can say basically they are using for growing crops and then to build their hut and to rear their goats, like that. The use of land is determined by physical factors such as topography, soil, climate, minerals, and availability of water. Use of land, it determines as what? In what way? By physical factors. Some factors are there. It depends topography. Land areas must be level one, so it depends on it. Soil also should be fertile. Climate also should be suitable. Minerals and availability of water. These are the factors which are necessary to determine land use. Human factors such as population and technology are also important determinants of land use pattern. So human factors like as population and technology, these are also important to determinants of land use patterns. So technology, again, scientific knowledge is known as technology here, boys. Land can also be classified on the basis of ownership as ownership means owner. We have that means the owner of different buildings, land areas. So land can also be classified on the basis of ownership as private land and community land. Private land is owned by individuals. Owner is the single family, only one family or one individual. Whereas community land is owned by the community for common uses like collection of fodder, fruits, nuts, or medicinal herbs, those which give us medicine. These community lands are also called common property resources. So we know houses and community hall. In a community hall, everyone we can go there and we can enjoy there. But houses that are one's own only individuals. So these community lands, they are known as common property resources also. People and their demands are ever growing, but the availability of land is limited. Demand of people, it is increasing day by day, ever growing, okay? But the availability of land is limited. Population also that is increasing. But land areas, this is limited, boys. The quality of land also differs from place to place. Land's quality, which we got earlier also in this chapter, at the beginning of the chapter, land's quality also differs from one place to another. It is not alike, it is not same in everywhere. People started encroaching the common lands to build up commercial areas, housing complexes in the urban areas, and to expand the agricultural land in the rural areas. So people started to take the common lands in order to build up commercial areas for say any business purposes like that. Then making houses in the urban areas and to expand the agricultural land in the rural areas, means in the village areas. Urban means city areas or town areas, urban area. Today, the vast changes in the land use pattern also reflect the cultural changes in our society. Today, you see, boys, the vast changes, the big changes in the land use pattern also it reflects the changes in culture in our society. Land degradation, breaking down of land, landslides, soil erosion, desertification are the major threats to the environment. These are major threats to the environment. These are destroying the land, damaging the land. Because of the expansion of agriculture and construction activities. So these are threats to the environment. We are changing, that means the land areas. So let us see now the next page, page number 9. The uses of land in different way in the figure. That means you can see change in land use over time, village to town and then city, how it changes, you can imagine here. Conservation of land resources. Conservation, we have to preserve, boys. We have to save land resources. Land resource, it is a gift of nature to us. We have to conserve it. We have to save it. It should not be used thoughtlessly. It should not be washed out by flowing water. We must protect them from degradation, from landslide, from soil erosion, etc. So growing population and their ever-growing demand has led to a large-scale destruction of forest cover and arable land and has created a fear of losing this natural resource. Boys, as I already cleared you earlier also, land areas it is not increasing, but population day by day it is increasing. So growing population, sorry boys, growing population and their ever-growing demand, it has led to a large-scale destruction, damaging of forest cover and arable land, and has created a fear of losing this natural resource. Okay, here in future, whether this natural resource will lose forever, so we have a fear on it. Therefore, the present rate of degradation of land must be checked, and that is why the way how land are degrading day by day, it must be checked and it must be stopped. Afforestation means to plant new trees. Land reclamation, changing that means in the land. Regulated use of chemical pesticides and insecticides. These are the chemicals which are used for crops in order to save our crops from pests or insects. Pesticide and fertilizers and checks on overgrazing are some of the common methods used to conserve land resources. Boys, you must know this. Why should we conserve land resources, and what are the steps will you take to conserve land resources? So completely these two questions answer is given in this paragraph. You please keep it in your mind. Now let us see the next part of the chapter is soil. The thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called soil. What is soil? If anybody asks, you have to say the thin layer of grainy substance covering the surface of the earth is called soil. It is closely linked to land. That means soil is closely linked with land. And different types of land, different types of soil you will get in your later chapter, or that means in your higher classes, boy. Landforms determine the type of soil. Soil is made up of organic matter, minerals, and weathered rocks found on the earth. Landforms it determine the type of soil. And soil, it is how is soil made up of? You see here, soil is made up of organic matter, minerals, and weathered rocks which are found on the earth. This happens through the process of weathering, and it is only happen with the help of weathering. The right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. Organic matter means derived from living matter, make the soil fertile. So right mix of minerals, okay, and then this organic matter it increases the fertility of the soil to grow crops in order to get good harvest. You'll see that means you know that our cultivator, they used to make soil fertile more with the help of different sources. Now let us turn over the page, next page, in page number 10. Landslides. Breaking down of land. Landslides are simply defined as the mass movement of rock, debris, or earth down a slope. If the earth it downs, that means down a slope, it denotes this landslide. They often take place in conjunction with earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. They often take place. These landslides often take place with what? With that means earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes. A prolonged spell of rainfall can cause heavy landslides that can block the flow of river for quite some time. So longer than usually, that is called prolonged. Spell of rainfall can cause heavy landslide. Here in our Manipur also, boys, the existing road to connect our Manipur with other state of India, say National Highway 37 and 39, sometimes this road used to block due to this landslide. It is happening especially in the rainy season. So it happens so by the flow of river or quite some time this landslide or flowing of water, it break down say hills like that. So the existing road used to block by this landslide. The formation of river blocks can cause havoc. Havoc means widespread destruction. Destruction is made widely. That is called havoc. The formation of river blocks can cause havoc to the settlements downstream on its bursting. In the hilly terrain, landslides have been a major and widely spread natural disaster that often strike life and property and occupy a position of major concern. Disaster means a sudden accident or a natural catastrophe that causes great damage or loss of life. It losses many life, okay? It saves the life of many people. So strike life and property also damages by this and occupy a position of major concern. A case study, let us see. A massive landslide hit uh, Pangi village near Rekong, Pyo in Kennaur district of Himachal Pradesh and damaged a 200-meter stretch of all Hindustan Tibet Road, National Highway number 22. This landslide was triggered by intense blasting of Pangi village. Due to the blasting, this weak zone of slope collapsed. Glassings fell down and caused intense damage to the road and nearby villages. See what a great damage it caused by this due to the blasting. Okay, the Angi village was completely vacated to avoid any possible loss of life. Okay, so it was no human being remained there or was vacated from that place to save the life or any possible loss of life in order to save from it. Then mitigation mechanism. How to overcome this mechanism? Let us see. To overcome this mechanism, advancement in scientific techniques has empowered us to understand what factors cause landslides and how to manage them. Empowered means give or delegate power or authority. So advancement in scientific techniques, many scientific techniques are there. It has given us or delegate power or authority to us to understand what factors cause landslides and how to manage them. And if it causes, how should we manage ourselves in order to protect our life and property. Some broad mitigation techniques of landslides are as follows. So some broad to overcome from this one. Some techniques of landslides are as follows. To mitigate techniques, these following points you have to see. Hazard mapping to locate areas prone to landslides. Hazard means a danger or risk. Mapping to locate those areas which are affected to landslides, prone or affecting the landslides. Hence, such areas can be avoided for building settlements. Construction of retention wall to stop land from slipping. Construct retention wall. Retaining wall should be made in order to stop this land from slipping. Increase in the vegetation cover to arrest landslide. That areas must be covered with vegetation. New plants should be grown there so that the roots of the plants can protect land from landslide. The surface drainage control works to control the movement of landslide along with rainwater and spring flows. Surface drainage control works is also necessary to control the movement of landslide along with rainwater and spring flows. That's up to here for today. Thank you all.